This under-construction building aims to defy the laws of nature. However, recent environmental consultations have recommended halting construction. But before we delve into that, let me first provide you with a quick overview. Announced in the NEOM project, the building is named The Line. It's under construction a couple of miles from Dubai, commissioned by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who disregarded all scientists' claims on building.
A lot of projects that happen in Saudi Arabia can be done. This is very ambitious. They can't keep saying that, and we can't keep proving them wrong.
Have you ever pondered why there's a 1-kilometer tall building when the current longest house is only 200 meters? The spherical shape of the Earth prohibits us from constructing linear structures. To visualize this, take a small block and place it on a ball. You'll notice that the two ends of the block remain untouched. The same principle applies to construction. While the Earth's immense size might allow us to build a couple of kilometers long buildings, the line, at 170 kilometers, presents a different challenge.
Well, some of it is so beyond our understanding at the moment because they are sort of raw engineering challenges that even the world's foremost engineers haven't really figured out to account for the curvature of the Earth. You need to figure out how to have a break in the building. These are not problems that have been faced by any modern structures ever, right?
Earth's curvature is the simplest of all challenges. Maintaining the structural integrity of a 170 kilometers building is deemed impossible. To understand this, imagine a compact and linear building on the ground. During an earthquake, the entire compact house feels the same shake, with all parts moving together. Conversely, in a stretched-out building, different parts experience varying forces, similar to when you wiggle a long string, leading the structure to crumble or twist. This is why weak earthquakes often damage robust roads but do little to nothing to compact houses nearby.
I don't see the line as presented ever realized, but I do think there is a possibility where some of those ideas are tested in a mini version of it. The whole concept kind of breaks down. So in the end, you're making maybe not a line, you're making a dot.
However, despite these challenges presented by top architects, Mohammed bin Salman keeps insisting that nothing money can't solve.
We think about what kind of opportunity we have. So we have the cash, we have the land, we have the stability, we have good infrastructure, we are a G20 country.
He and his team often compare themselves to the 1968 NASA's team that landed a man on the moon.
NASA and NEOM are a twin in a way, 60 years apart. Different projects, but very similar uniqueness to them.
These challenges rank at number 5 and 4 on our list. But why would the future king want to spend billions of dollars on a project that seems unlikely to succeed? Saudi Arabia is an oil-dependent country, and oil is becoming obsolete. In 2000, the demand for oil-based cars was 100%. With the rise of Elon Musk's electric car, the percentage dropped to 50% in 2021, 32% in 2024, and, with the International Energy Agency aiming for net zero emissions in 2050, less than 10% of cars will rely on gas. Not even only affecting cars. With this warning in their ears, heavily oil-dependent nations in the Middle East are striving to transition their economies to tourism. For example, a few years ago, Qatar spent $220 billion building World Cup stadiums, only to dismantle them a week after. This prompted Salman to realize that if he does nothing, his heavily oil-dependent nation won't survive, stating, by 2030, the kingdom would be prepared for a future that is less dependent on falling oil revenue. After claiming Saudi Arabia wants to end its addiction to oil with far-reaching reforms, it was under this pressure that he embarked on the formidable The Line.
And I think this is kind of the intention with Mohammed bin Salman, is he wanted to make something that was as wow, had as much of a wow factor as the pyramids of Giza.
Have you seen The Line in Saudi Arabia? Do you know what that is?
Yes. So, that's insane. That's so Star Wars.
They're building that shit.
That is so insane looking. Look at that.
Palm Tree Islands, and everyone thought it was crazy.
That's what it looks like inside.
Yes,
that's
it's
insane.
happening.
However, people have started to notice it's unrealistic.
Oh my God.
It's
Mirror
on.
glass facade.
I want to see the Black Mirror episode.
Bro,
about
this
place.
literally is science fiction.
However, it was after this video, the unrealistic nature of The Line became apparent. The 2-minute video was made to impress investors and the world about the building. They began by stating it would be 2 parallel buildings covered in a mirror facade, taller than the Empire State Building, 170 kilometers long, and 200 meters apart, before claiming,
The line's infrastructure makes it possible to travel end to end in 20 minutes with no need for cars.
Unfortunately, engineers dissected truth 3 minutes after.
From one end to the other in just 20 minutes. That would mean that the train runs at 525 kilometers per hour if you're not accounting for all the stops. The fastest train in the world is the Shanghai Maglev, which runs at 460 kilometers per hour.
The proposed underground train system, vital for the project's success, relies on transportation technology that doesn't yet exist. In the video, they continued by stating that there would be no driving routes or cars. But what's even more astonishing is the claim that residents will be able to access whatever they need, food, health centers, schools, in only a 5-minute walk. The project's ambitious goal of allowing residents to traverse miles within 5 minutes seems impractical and spatially ineffective. How many schools will you place in a 170 kilometers building that anyone apart from each other can access within 5 minutes without a car? There's a genius trick they use to convince investors here.
Show ideas for everything from robot maids to an artificial moon, flying cars, and just about everything else from the Jetsons.
How this city will heavily rely on technologies that are not quite ready yet.
They then went on to say that the line will be home to 9 million people and produce zero emissions. One of the primary reasons why the NEOM project faces an uphill battle is the lack of existing technology to support its grand vision. While promotional videos depict a city without cars, streets, or emissions, the reality is that the technological infrastructure required for such a transit system is still years, if not decades, away.
Well, I mean, it looks like something out of science fiction.
Probably, Prince Salman may have released this video with zero intention to lie to us, instead laid by project designers who are not surprisingly not human but ChatGPT. I mean AI. Saudi Arabia is not building the line, but AI is, said an NEOM executive. AI may be a great choice when working with specialized architects, but the additional designers are Hollywood movie fantasy. The NEOM project's ambitious promises, coupled with its designers' fascination with cyberpunk aesthetics, have raised doubts about its practicality and viability.
The line is something that is, of course, intriguing to many people, puzzling to many people, and in some ways puzzling even to those who are involved in designing it.
If guys that studied physics for years don't envision how they're going to craft the Earth's curvature, it's no surprise that the prince himself has no idea.
Well, we are bringing all the pieces of puzzle together. I don't know what's the outcome of it. But what is it? It's unknown. We're gonna see.
Despite not being sure about the success of the project, Salman is set to spend a massive $500 billion on the project. To give you a perspective of how huge that cash is, the GDP of Messi's country, Argentina, being the cost of every good and service the entire nation produces, is $20 billion less. Don't forget Argentina is the 25th economy in the world. The first billions were already spent in December 2021. The month countless bulldozers, engineers, and excavators were seen starting the project. But what could happen if the line fails? The designer team always inspires Salman, stating they are the 1968 NASA team.
When we first began, there was this moment from several voices where people were looking at the Apollo mission from the 1960s.
Therefore, they should take risks.
You could imagine the amount of naysayers. You could imagine the amount of critics and those who kind of worried if it was even possible.
Urging Salman to act like Kennedy.
Incredible convergence of the government leadership under President John F. Kennedy, amassing the greatest minds of the United States.
However, little did they know what happened to Saudi Arabian leaders that tried to replicate moon landing adventures. In 2001, Salman's grandfather, King Fahd of Saudi Arabia, had a mega project plan of making 4 artificial islands around the Saudi Arabian coast, the world archipelago, supposed to reignite the universe, surrounded by the Palm Dara, the Palm Jebel Ali, and finally the Palm Jumeirah. However, despite many years of work and $13 billion spent, all we hear now is this.
Dubai's man-made islands were supposed to look like this. Luxury, exuberance, and grandiosity. Instead, after 20 years of work and $13 billion, they make up an unimpressive scatter of sand with a few barely recognizable continents.
Today, it tops the list of the world's most expensive failures, followed by Jeddah, another Saudi Arabian megastructure which got abandoned a few months before embarking on the line, the Jeddah Tower, once touted as the world's tallest building, now stands abandoned. However, it's safe to confirm that the line won't fail, considering Salman was too ambitious about it, so much that he named the project after himself. There's no way a project with the king's name could fail. However, there are still many unsolved problems here.
This project making money, it's project absorbing the demand that we assumed in Saudi Arabia, and it's something that creates the new way of building city and new way of living.
Haven't you heard of his father's city, which, after completion, became useless, the King Abdullah Economic City? When Abdullah bin first introduced this city back in 2005, he had planned to make it the largest economic city, housing 2 million people. However, after being furnished with luxury hotels, megastructures, and spending over $7 billion, Wikipedia wrote this 20 years later, it was one of 6 megaprojects that were announced in 2005 and is the only one that was launched. The city had not attracted investment or become a hub for logistics and manufacturing, contrary to the grand plans behind the project. Economic City, intended to house 2 million residents, has struggled to attract a significant population despite years of development. Today, only 7,000 live there, compared to the 2 million populations it was prepared for. If this beautiful city, built on the very fresh Saudi Arabian western coast, struggled to attract a population till this day, that poses questions about stretched-out buildings in the middle of the desert. The high temperatures and limited freshwater supply in the area make sustaining a densely populated city challenging. Additionally, Economic City was not linear like the line.
Why don't we build line cities? Because they're not made by or for people. Historically, they are the result of designing a city like you would a machine. Is that linear cities offer residents almost no sense of choice. There are only 2 options for movement. They also limit choice in other ways as well.
I don't know why there isn't a successful linear city in the entire world. While that may be a challenge, the biggest drawback of the line is its residents' privacy. As announced during the presentation, the city will heavily rely on AI-controlled cameras to track and monitor personal activities as a way of preserving their culture and preventing people from practicing any other religion other than Islam. Its emphasis on surveillance and data monetization raises concerns about individual privacy. However, while these challenges raise questions about the line, we have to think of Saudi Arabia the way it is. It's not like another struggling country but a global tourist hub, and the fact that every single room in millions of Burj Khalifas is occupied showcases Salman's undefeatable nature.
And we can keep proving them wrong.